Hi everyone. So for today's discussion, we're going to be having the guidelines, the rubrics, and a sample presentation for our research proposal. So research proposal is necessary throughout all research subjects for the chapter 1, 2, and 3. This is the time where we have to pitch our research topic towards selective panelists or experts. And this time, in this situation, I will be the one who will represent your panelists. So here is our guidelines for the oral presentation. First is the introduction. The oral presentation provides students with an opportunity to discuss their research directly with the panel members who are considered experts. These guidelines provides details on the purpose, format, and conduct of the oral defense. The guidelines are relevant to all research students in the examination of the research output. Our objectives. First, the main objective of holding an oral presentation are to, first, provide a student with an opportunity to defend their research paper and reply to criticisms or challenges to their arguments, while enabling panel members to clarify issues in the research paper. So basically, when we have this activity, one of its objectives is to provide information towards the experts, towards the panelists, and as well as to provide or reply to criticisms and challenges coming from your experts as well. Next is provide a student with an opportunity to discuss their work in depth with the panel members and to interact directly and in person with leaders in their fields of study. There are certain things and certain informations in which it's better to explain it in rather than only limiting to the one we read on paper. From the word itself, our panelists are experts, so this means that they are basically knowledgeable in their certain fields. But with our one-on-one sessions or with our Q&A part of the research proposal, you will be able to provide additional information to your experts that is not only written in your paper, but you can explain it further as well. Next is facilitate the panel members in reaching an agreement on the oral presentation result and facilitate the panel members in providing to the student an agreed single set of corrections or revisions required to be made before submission of the final work. So basically, again, it's more into an interaction with your panelists and providing them information whether or not you are allowed to continue on with your research or whether you have to make a major revision towards your research paper. Okay, next is we have oral presentation process time. So the first one is time. The schedule of the oral presentation should be established and announced by the research teacher. Okay, so basically for our work, what will happen is we're going to be having our research proposal. That would be on the afternoon of the last day of our final exam, which is at March 11, and then the whole day for Saturday, March 12. Okay, so for this one, the group or I myself will be doing a random sampling of all the subjects or all the research sections that I will be handling. And then so that everyone can get the opportunity and there is no bias when it comes to the order of the oral presentation. Basically, for the oral presentation as well, each group will be given 20 minutes. 15 minutes for their presentation and 5 minutes for the question and answer. Again, 15 minutes for their presentation and 5 minutes for their Q&A for a total of 20 minutes per group. Now, the instruction is that 5 minutes ahead of your time, you should be already generating your call, and at the exact time, your panelists, or even earlier, your panelists will go inside the call or will be inside the call already so that we can start on time. Okay, next for the participants. The oral presentation is attended by this session, or this is an example during the face-to-face session. First is we have the chair, the student or the researchers, and 2 panel members. But on our part, we will have the students, the researchers, and me coming in as your panel member. For the venue, we have The oral presentation will normally be held inside a classroom. But on our part, since we're doing online setup for our classes, we'll be doing it on MS Teams. Okay, so arrangement for face-to-face. Students will provide 3 hard copies of the research proposal. So this one, at least 2 weeks or at least a month or 2 weeks prior to your scheduled oral defense or oral proposal, you should already give your panelists the copy of your research proposal so that they will have the time to read it. Next is students will come in their business attires with name tags. Okay, this is during the face-to-face classes. On our part, when doing the virtual class, what will happen is I'll leave the decision to you, but you have to decide as a group whether or not you'll be wearing business attires, whether or not you'll be wearing the senior high uniform if you have it, or whether or not you'll be wearing white polo shirt. It depends on you as a group, so long as you can decide as a group and you will look uniform. Next, students will provide simple token of appreciation to the panel members, and students will provide snack or meals for the panel members. So this is normal when we have face-to-face classes on research proposal and research defense. The group should provide a token of appreciation and snacks or meals for the panel members. Next is when we do virtual. First, the student will pass the research proposal to the teacher on the set date. So in connection to this, I will be posting on our separate channels the deadlines for your research proposal paper, which is also your performance task requirement. Next, the student will start the meeting on their assigned time and wait for the teacher to enter the call. So just like what I've mentioned earlier, we'll be doing it, or 5 minutes before your scheduled time, you should already make or schedule a meeting so that by the time we can start our session, or we can start our oral defense, our oral proposal rather. Okay, so that's for the guidelines. Let's proceed next with our rubrics. Okay, so let me open the file first. Just give me a couple of seconds here. Okay, so let me share the screen now. Okay, so again, the next part I will be showing you is our rubrics. Okay, so I'll read through the rubrics. Okay, we have here. Okay, so for our rubrics, we have here our legend. So VGE to a very great extent. This is our goal. Each and every group should reach for 4 as our top score. Next, GE to a great extent. Third is SE to some extent, LE to a little extent, and N not at all. So let's start. First is we have for the content, which is 50%. The key points of the paper are covered. Second, the purpose behind the research is clear and well-defined. Third, the presentation is organized. Fourth, the paper is introduced effectively. Fifth, the presenter clearly explained the content of the research. Next, we have sufficient details about the project are provided. The study presents the potential limitations of the interpretations of the data. The presentation is concluded effectively. Next is the presentation is completed within the set time limits. And last but not the least, the presentation responds to the needs, interests, values, beliefs of the audience. Now, in order for us to achieve the last one, I would like you to connect or think of a way to connect your research paper, the purpose of your research, to certain Atenean core values in order for us to achieve or get a perfect score for the last one. Next is delivery, which is also 50%. The presenters looks confident and comfortable in their delivery. The presenters show mastery of the content of their work. The presenters are dressed properly. That's what I've mentioned earlier. The presenters use appropriate gestures to further reinforce their ideas. The presenters do not overly rely on their notes. Instead, they effectively use eye contact to stay connected with their audience. So we have here not rely on their notes. So we do have line limitations when it comes to our presentation. However, We could also read coming from our research proposal the things that are not included in a presentation. We just have to make sure that we are not overly relying on reading them, and instead we are familiar enough with our research paper. Okay, next. Okay, sorry about that. So next, the presenters avoid mannerisms or any distracting behavior that may affect their delivery. Next, the presenters use pleasant yet firm tones of voices. And lastly, the presenters avoid making offensive remarks directed to the audience. So just a quick disclaimer, the rubric or this rubric is 30% of your final grade, which is a group grade. So all of you will basically get 30 if you perfected this rubric. However, the 20 items or the 20% will be coming from your own presentation and the way you conduct yourself during our oral presentation. That is why it is important for you to divide amongst yourself specific parts of the presentation so that everyone can speak. It is important for each and every group member to familiarize the research paper so that when asked or thrown the question, you could answer the question asked to you. And also that is why I am requiring everyone to open their cameras during the time of the presentation so that I could see at each and every one. However, for proper presentation conduct, when it is not your part or it is not time to speak, you can please mute yourselves and unmute after if it is your time already. That is why I've been giving advices to you or to my students that you should practice fitting your presentation to 15 minutes only. So a quick disclaimer, I'll be timing your presentation, and once 15 minutes is over and you're still not done with your part, I'll call your attention and give you one last opportunity to provide your closing words or your closing remarks when it comes to your presentation. Okay, so now let me unshare and let me proceed with our presentation. Okay, so we have here presentation format. So allow me to full screen or do full screen. Hold on. Okay, we have here. Okay, so this is a sample. So as you can see, the background for our sample is white. Now it is in the group's decision and discretion. You could change, edit the background. Just make sure that your background will not overshadow the main wordings or the main information that needed to be provided. So again, we have here a sample. So the first one is Research 201, Research in Daily Life, Research Proposal for the third quarter of school year 2021 and 2022. So we have here in bold and in all caps title of your research and then your group members. Next is for our chapter 1, which is the introduction. So for this part, we have the background of the study and the statement of the problem. However, if you have or if you are having problems when it comes to the limit to the lines, you can separate the background of the study to your statement of the problem. So put statement of the problem on another slide. Okay, next is significance of the study and scope and the limitations. So again, it has to be 8 lines only. Next is for chapter 2, we have review of related literature, limit it to 8 lines only. Just like what I've mentioned earlier, if you have a lot of review of related literature and related studies, you could try to one strategy would be just to put the research title, who the author is, and the year, and then read a couple or a bit of an information coming from your review of related literature coming from your paper. Anyways, I, as a panelist, already read your review of related literature and related studies. And even when we do research proposal in which other experts will come in, they already have a clear information of your review of related literature and related studies coming from your paper, so they have a background already about it. Okay, and then next is we have still on chapter 2 related studies, and then chapter 2 as well, your conceptual or theoretical framework. Okay, next is chapter 3, research methodology. So we have here research design and context and participants. Next is instruments of the study. And then we have lastly for references. Now for references, it is not limited to 8 lines only. If you have a lot of references, just make sure to fit them all in this slide. So you can actually edit the font of the references so that you can fit all your references in. So again, that is all for our action or research proposal this day. Have a great day ahead. Goodbye and thank you everyone.